Welcome. This is Hidden Folks. My name is Adriaan de Jongh. I am one of the two people making this game. I am collaborating with a guy called Sylvain Tegroeg. He is a French product designer and illustrator, and he's the guy who's drawing everything. And when I first saw his drawings, which sort of looked like what you're seeing now, I was like, whoa. This is crazy. There's so much stuff happening in his illustrations, like little worlds he was creating. And so I saw that, and I jokingly told him, "Hey, we should make a game together." And he took it slightly more serious than I did. And yeah, here we are, like 2 years later, actually making the game. I think back then we agreed to meet, and I made a really shitty prototype based on like art I stole from his website, and that totally convinced him that his art was very suitable for a game. He had never made a game before. He was only there, like he graduated on product design, and so like when I told him like games, he was like, "Ooh, games. What are they? How do they work?" And so I basically taught him how to implement his art into the development program I use, Unity. And yeah, that's sort of where the whole thing started. And yeah, I just wanted to play through it a bit with you guys right now, so that you could get a feel for it. Yeah, there's one thing that might like change the way you perceive the game. All the sounds in the game are mouth sounds, all of it. Bling. Oh, this is broken.
Zzz, zzz, zzz.
Bling. So there's a bunch of people at the bottom that you have to find. You can click on them and they make funny sounds.
Hello.
And yeah, they're hidden, obviously, and you have to find them. She's taking a nap.
Zzz, zzz,
Ah, there she is. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's funny how people look at the second level and be like, "Whoa, this is so big," and then I'm like, he's getting that picnic party he's always wanted.
Hey.
Hey. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna spoil all the targets for you. But there are a bunch of people that are looking for other people, or there's this guy in this very specific scene that buried his ring so that he'd never lose it, which is silly. And so this is one of the first levels. I'm gonna go ahead and show you a couple more things of the game.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
So the illustrator, he makes these little worlds, and what I do is I do all the other things, but I sort of think about interactions that I can make with his art, and I think that's what how I'm trying to make this game fun, or even more fun than a sort of plain Where's Waldo kind of game. So in this scene, for instance, there's a lot of interactions. You can click on the computer to stop the flashing from happening, or
Bloop, 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 bloop.
do these things. You can like open all these little things. Yeah, let's see what we gotta find. Jessica is trying out her new XXL outfit. Lol. Okay. So there's a lot of interactions to discover, and that's for me as the game designer trying to make people understand how things work. these little scenes are super important because they give you as the player, who at first doesn't have any idea how the game works or what to do, needs to discover all these interactions. And the way to do it is just tap everything. And so you discover that this thing is like shaking, and you're like, oh, I can do something with this. And then you discover, oh, I can open the garage door. And there's going to be a lot of those kinds of interactions in the game. Things that you discover by just trying to tap on them, trying to, bling! So that's him. And I happen to know that the clothes hanger is inside this thing. Bling! Okay. So you already saw this a little bit before. Normally you can move the camera around, so you can like orientate yourself or the level where you want to. You can basically look around, right? But there's going to be some levels in which you don't have that control as sort of a change of pace, and you just look at the level. And it's supposed to be actually very chill, except that in this very specific level it feels very stressed because now you only have X amount of time to find all the characters. Still working on that. But yeah, we need to look for Truck Mechanic Joe. And here's another interaction that's there. So you can drive little cars using knobs. You can open crates. You can... Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So I just quickly, before we get to the... before we get to like showing you how it's made. Show you the sort of sheer size that these levels can get. Because this is the currently large level we made. And it's very big. So, yeah, I just wanted to go from like one side to the other. So now we're here. This is like the edge of the nothingness. And this is the Burning Folks Festival. And let's keep moving. It's so big. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is the other side. There's a lot of stuff to find here. There's all sorts of little scenes with their own little interactions as well. So yeah, the scenes get pretty big, with like little weird clues like this one. So I wonder what I have to do here. So yeah, lots of stuff happening. I think one of my favorite scenes here is the Indian camp. Here it is, the Indian camp. Because the Indians have secrets. Mainly that they're hiding their chainsaws in their teepees. Yeah, okay, so this is the game. You get a little bit of a sense of it. There's a lot of targets here. And now I quickly wanted to show you like all the sort of separate components that make this game. Don't intend it to be very technical, but I'm still going to open the program in which I make it. So, okay, are you ready? Okay, so this is a Unity, which is the thing I'm using, and there's a couple of screens here. There is the game screen over here. Obviously, that's how the game will look when you actually like build it and compile it, which is a bit of a boring thing. But this is the scene view, and here you can see all the separate. It's basically the same thing, but the background's not white. But here I can also move things around, so you can see that this this tent flap can be moved around, and this is also sort of the part where you discover that there's a lot of objects here, and we drew them individually, and we placed them individually, and we sort them individually. And what all this means is the following. So drawing them individually. Basically Sylvain, he sits down with a sheet of paper in front of him, and he spends days just drawing tiny little things. One of those things is, for instance, the parts of which the people are made out of. Yes, they're made out of parts all these parts. These are a lot of parts. And so the cool thing about this is that all these parts will fit together. And so we can have any body with any head, with any arm, with any leg. And yeah, we actually, I guess to illustrate this, I made a very specific scene that shows you this. Let's see, here we go. Let me maximize this game screen for you. So this is like a lot of people. Yeah, they're randomized. So what I can do is I can randomize them just like with the press of a button, and they'll all change. They'll all get different kinds of animations. It's pretty fun to make this sort of stuff, and it's also really fun to just add everything, all the like little heads and arms and bodies. And it's very simple animations. I think there's only currently 5 or 6 animations in the game, but because they all look different, it will almost always feel like a completely unique thing. But that's not the case at all. It's just 5 animations, and we just swap out the heads and the body parts. So yeah, that's the characters. Just to give you a sense of like if you pull them apart, it's terrible. We can totally do that. So this is character's head, and here's an arm. You know, their legs are weirdly long if you pull them apart. Let's see if we can find this guy, because I think the animation might actually work. Oh, this is weird. Okay, so yeah, that's the characters. Yeah, that just gets swapped out every level. So the thing with having to find specific people, the people that you have to find are not generated like this, but all the other people are. And just to show you that, let's see which. We need to turn on this maximize thing. Okay. So here's the level. You saw this before, and now I'm gonna hit the button, and you can see that all the characters are just swapped out. And this is just for fun, really. Okay, so that's for the characters. The same goes for all the other elements in the game. So you just saw the character parts, but we have giant, and I mean giant sprite sheets of like all sorts of very little things that we put in the game. So these are some of the forest things that we have. We have factory scenes which are completely crazy, with like giant blocks and weird heads. A lot of really tiny things. And so this is all the images that the game is made out of. And yeah, we put it together, and I'll show you that too. Here is a small city that we made. And so yeah, all these separate elements, they're all like, it's a lot of work. That's why I'm showing this to you guys. All these elements are like separately placed, and they're also sorted. So if you've ever worked in Photoshop or any other like graphical program, you'll know that there's layers to things, right? In our game, there is a lot of layers. I'm talking about like literally maybe hundreds of thousands of layers. And there is stuff that we do every time we drag in an image. We need to decide on which layer things go. And it can get really complicated, but to show you this, to basically show you the difference, I'll just swap it back and forth so you can see how important that swapping is actually. Let's do it. Different level.
Zip.
Zip. Okay, so here, this is how it looks sorted. This is how it looks unsorted. So now everything's like flat, and you can already see, like, you can look inside the tents, and there's like lots of things that are on top of each other. So it's not just the drawing that takes a lot of time and making those giant images. It's also placing them and also then sorting them. So those are like the things that we spend a lot of days on, like how to create this world. Okay, so that about sorting. Let's see. Yeah, so there are. Actually, if there's any question, if you guys have any questions, yeah. Okay, there's a question here.
Maybe obvious or a long shot, but have you heard of Where's Waldo?
Yes. Yeah. So the relationship Hidden Folks has with Where's Waldo is one of inspiration, but we definitely want to make a game that is more than Where's Waldo. Where's Waldo is a bunch of characters and objects hidden in plain sight, whereas with Hidden Folks, it's really much more engaging. You need to interact with things. You need to open the garage doors. You need to open the shake the bushes, open like weird stuff, windows. So yeah, like Hidden Folks is a huge inspiration. I think the biggest inspiration for the game has always been that initial moment, for me, has always been that initial moment when I saw Sylvain Tegroeg's illustrations. Actually, I think I have some images of his work. Let's see if I can bring those up, because it's pretty cool. So this is the sort of stuff that he draws. He uses a very specific pen. He's really religious about that. But yeah, like he draws it on paper like this, and then he scans it and basically does nothing else to it than a little bit of contrast. And this was the initial thing I saw. The funny thing is that this was at his graduation expo, and you see the globes at the bottom. That was the actual product, and the illustrations on the back were just like a thing for the background. But I thought those were like way cooler. Don't tell him that. So yeah, this was the very first thing that happened. So yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, a question?
So I have no idea about game development.
Yeah.
So I know Photoshop and the layers and stuff like that. How long did it take you to build for instance, this marketplace looks pretty complex.
Right.
How many layers and how long did it take you to build the entire thing out?
Right. So we have some tricks to sort of make layering very, very easy. So there we can save a lot of time. It's still a lot of time. So okay, in total, a level like this will take us probably 3 days to make. 3 full days. The desert level that you saw before takes us about a week to make. So it's still not like super crazy, but it's a whole week, and we're still not done with it. There's a lot of interaction that we're still adding. The smaller levels we can make in like a couple hours. But there's a thing that I believe about game design, which is more like a process belief, where we make something really terrible raw, and then we put it in front of people, and then we see what it does, and then we change the game based on like the experiences the player has, and then we do that like literally 100 times, and then at some point you get a better level. So even though we can make one of these scenes in maybe a day or 2 days, we'll eventually spend maybe 2 weeks on them to make them real good, and to make sure that the levels have to make sure that the levels feel the way we want to, that people understand them, that they're fun, that the characters that you have to find are difficult enough. So yeah, that's how we approach it. So it varies between like 2 days or 2 weeks. For the eventual game, we plan to have maybe 20 levels in there. The desert level will take you probably 2 hours to finish. So there's you can spend a lot of time in the game. One thing we found actually specifically with the desert level was that people like finding the targets in general in Hidden Folks, but they like it even more when they're bonus. So when there's 1 required target and there's 11 bonus targets, you're more likely to stay in the level and to enjoy the level if all of them are bonus. So yeah, we think that the game will have about maybe 15 to 20 hours of like just finding things. We've been working on the game since end of 2014. very on and off. The first year was basically Sylvain and I trying to discover how to make this game, how to oh, food, nice. The first half year was basically us trying to figure out how to get the images on the screen, and me learning him how to implement and iterate, do those iterations in the game, and then the rest of the time was slowly making versions of the game. This version that you're seeing is the 4th version of the game, which means we've made 3 sort of versions of the game before, say like 10 levels or so, that we all threw away, all of it, because we learned so much about the way that this game is going to work, that it was actually less effort for us to just throw everything away and start over again. And one thing we found, which I think could be interesting, especially from a game design perspective, is that there is a weird balance, a sort of language that the images have, that the interaction has. And for instance, how do you know you can tap on a tent and that it opens? How do you know you can cut these bushes? How do you know you can dig these holes? And so that's actually the thing that we learn most, is that in order for people to keep experimenting, there need to be a lot of these interactions. And so that's, I think, the biggest iterations we've done every time, like make more stuff interactable so that people keep pressing on things. Actually, I'm going to show you I think that this was previously this was the biggest level we had. This is a level I think you guys also played before. They speedrunned it, which is sort of incredible if you see what I mean. So this is this level is super broken because I haven't touched it in a while. But this is a very busy level. It's a giant factory, but it barely has any interaction. So, here's a thing I accidentally dragged. So, little car you can drive. There's garage doors. There's no sounds in here yet, I think. One cool thing is that there's like packages that move over these conveyor belts, and you can like redirect them. And so like there's going to be a giant puzzle in here somewhere. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. This was the very first level we made, and this was one of those levels where it was super obvious that people really like the looks of this level, but it's super boring to play because it's super busy and there's barely any interactions. So for instance, if we just look at this screen, the only thing you can interact with in this screen are the garage doors, which you can open. And yeah, we slowly found out that was just something that didn't work, and that's why we threw this level away. This was like a week of work, just out the door. So yeah, that's could be pretty painful sometimes, but it's all worth it. Better games. Yeah, question.
Well, first off, tell everybody what platforms you're going to be releasing on, and do you have a release date?
Yeah, so we're making the game for mobile devices first. So with touch, I think it's most fun because the zooming is very intuitive, and so it will be on mobile, so iOS, Android later, I'm afraid, because it's so tough to develop for Android. It's going to be on PC, on Mac, on Linux. It's going to be on Apple TV, which is a bit funny, but yeah, we found it's a really cool, fun experience to share with other people. Like, just imagine a family situation where like 3 kids are sitting in front of the TV, like literally with the face on the screen, looking at all these things, and one person can then sort of like tap on the things that people are suggesting. It really works well that way. So yeah, those are the platforms we'll initially release on. Maybe more later. We'll see.
My other question was, you had some Icelandic pop music playing earlier, and I know that in Iceland there's whole tradition of like hidden people, which are like a thing.
Yeah, it's true.
There are enough of a thing still in the public consciousness that like when a highway was going to go through an area where there was like a big boulder, people protested it because they might be disturbing the game. When you guys did the game, would that have anything to do with the Iceland?
Sure.
Yes. With a giant influence. Yeah, so it's going to be out on those platforms. Price, I have no idea. It's going to be a premium game. I don't think I want to like make people think about when and when not to put money into this. I just want people to give the whole experience, to just get the whole experience once. And it's going to be out hopefully mid-February. And I haven't announced that anywhere else, so. Ooh. So yeah, we're currently crunching away on new levels. I can show you some of the interactions that we've been coming up with. There's a lot of farming things that we've been working on. I'm not sure if this level works correctly though. No. Okay, let's go to yeah, here we go. So this is a funny thing. Where we make scenes with all the interactions in the game. This is basically where I spend most of my time, because I need to also write scripts so that these interactions actually happen. So. This is weird. Growing a cactus by tapping on it. Yeah, I also made that sound with my mouth. Bling. Yeah, so yeah, actually, let me show you some other of the interaction scenes. They're pretty fun. Not sure what this one has. Oh yeah, haven't worked on this one for a while. But we're planning to have like rotatable antennas. It's weird. And balloons that pop. Oh, there's no sounds in here. I think, yeah, here we go. Oh, of course. Of course. Let's see what else we've got. We've got the factory interaction scene. Yeah, this one is cool. So I think this one has sounds. Yeah. So yeah, this is like maybe my favorite theme because the interactions are so obvious. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, we also have. Okay, sorry about that. It's weird, you know.
Do you ever find yourself inadvertently making those noises while you're working?
Yes. So the fact that these noises are in is because I sometimes have the tendency. This is not super often, but sometimes I just do to explain things to people by giving them sounds, you know. So when I like can't say it in words, it's just like, yeah, this material feels slow, so you know, stuff like that, and yeah, that's naturally flowed into the game. Yeah, question.
What is the hardest thing about making a game?
The hardest thing I'd say is the language that we're creating. So what I was talking about, like how people understand which things to tap on, that has been really tough. And I think we've solved it mainly by having those very small scenes. But still, like there's a lot of interactions that we don't want to make so obvious. Yet, yeah. It's weird. This may be a weird thing to say, but as a player, you become really dumb sometimes. Like you just sort of follow the rules of like the conventional game wisdom that you have in your mind, and so yeah, once you open up the game and you discover you can tap on one thing, most people will just assume that that's the only thing they can do. And so, because there's so many interactions in this game, that's a huge problem. And so that's, I think, the most difficult part about it. Like, we can make a whole lot of levels with a lot of interactions, and so that's really fun to do. We can make all the crazy noises. We're going to make ambient sounds with our mouths. That's going to be really weird. I still have no idea how it's going to sound. So yeah, like I think that would be the biggest challenge. Yeah. Oh, question?
Follow up to that. Is there a pace that you're kind of zeroing in on how you ramp up what the interactions are?
Yeah, so it's going to basically go back and forth. Just as an example, we played the game initially that was this small level. Like whenever we want to make people understand a very specific interaction, we'll always start with this, because this is a level where people will almost inherently just tap on everything. And so yeah, most people tap on this thing and nothing happens. Okay, well, that's not an interaction. Tap on the tree branch, nothing happens. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You know, and so yeah, people tap on things, see what happens. And so when you start here, you dare to tap on everything. But if you start here, this is very a good example for what I was saying, why it was so hard. If you tap on anything here, nothing will happen wherever you tap. And so this is really a sort of hard lesson that we learned after like spending weeks and weeks on really big, pretty levels, that whenever people try and they can't figure it out, we either need to give them more or slowly introduce more interactions. So yeah, we plan to ramp it up by smaller levels first, bigger levels, but also a lot of interactions all the time. So yeah, it's not super crazy for this game. Let's see if I have another fun interaction scene somewhere. Maybe not. Oh, there is actually. Here's the thing. Here's some things that we're currently experimenting with. Yeah, so we're probably gonna have like a sort of suburb theme at some point. We're gonna have. This is an interaction that we just made. Windows that you can open. There's like things inside of them and behind them. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah. Like I'm so hardcore in the indie game scene that I sometimes forget that there's like a whole history to video games. And fortunately Sylvain is much more into like old school games, and so sometimes I find like Super Mario references or Duck Hunt or stuff like that, which is pretty fun, I'd say.
I think you have a question back here too.
Yeah, okay, question. Yes. So, hello.
I was just wondering if you accidentally or if you built some stuff in here in your world, right? Afterwards, well, a little bit like, that's probably not politically correct enough, or we've done something that might, offend people.
Right.
These giant worlds that might happen accidentally.
Can you repeat the question for
Yeah,
the
so
live stream?
the question is, have we made anything in the levels that we, in hindsight, found to be politically incorrect or like that would offend people? Not yet. I don't know of that yet. If there's something that you are like, well, that's not cool, then please do tell me. And yeah, but there are definitely things that we, in hindsight, thought like, this is terrible. This needs to go out, but not in terms of themes yet. But we've been playing pretty safe on the themes so far. Very general. We did. Okay, let's talk about diversity in Hidden Folks. This is a very weird topic because it's a black and white game, and we actually tried to have a black person in Hidden Folks because they're all white, and that's also the style that that Sylvain has. And then he tried to make a black person, and it was just like a black dot, and it didn't work at all for the game. And we also tried to make more. We tried to add female characters initially, and that was also a bit of a problem. I think we ended up with something that sort of worked. Let me show you that we have that now. So here in the left top corner, that's how we make a character female. But yeah, there's no one that has found any of this to be offensive, especially not like any of the animals. They've always found it pretty cool that they're in here. But yeah, like actually, now that you mention it, I think there were some people who mentioned that like depicting Indians, like Native Americans, is sometimes considered to be a little bit rude. But I don't know. I haven't heard of any Indians complaining yet. Yeah. So yeah. Any other questions about hidden folks? I can. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, go. Yeah, so the question is, why aren't we using color? I think the very simple answer to that is Sylvain doesn't do color. He draws on paper with the fine liner, and he just never works with color. So asking him to do color is basically like asking a person who does sculpting to also make typography for his website. And yeah, it's just not part of his tools. And so, yeah, we did think about it, but it's just not his style, and so I don't want to like interfere with that. So yeah, it's not like we set out to make a black and white game because we thought it was going to be a niche. It's more like, no, this is just all we have. If I want to work with this style with Sylvain, that's just the thing I have to work with. So yeah.
Might also discourage tapping randomly on things. There's color elements in it, they might always draw your attention.
Yeah, a funny thing about random tapping is that nearly everyone who playtests the game, when I'm standing next to it, is always going to ask me like, oh, but yeah, what do you do to make me stop like randomly doing this? And it's funny that they ask because almost everyone does this, but they stop after 5 seconds because it's so boring and it's so like anticlimactic to find a character that you didn't know you were looking for, that it's just not fun, and it sort of auto-regulates. And so yeah. But yeah, I guess like not having any colors also helps there. Yeah, it's been actually very busy, but I mean, the image has been very busy for a lot of people. That's what also inherently comes with having no color, because you need to figure out like all the contours and the contrast, and yeah, man, scenes can get pretty crazy. Actually, now that I think about it, there's one scene that when I was thinking about things that really didn't work. This game is relatively simple, and we tried some more complex things, and this is a level in which we tried one of those complex things. There's a big screen here with a box on here. So the idea was that we initially thought, oh, this is pretty clear. People need to get the box in here. It's not clear at all, but you know. And so we playtested a lot of this, and the box is actually here on a little car. And if you drive the car over here, oh no, I broke it. Okay, I haven't played this level for ages. Okay, so then the car would move, or the box would move onto the conveyor belt, which would then move this way. You'd have to point all the arrows into the right direction, and then finally it would be here, and then the character would walk out that you had to find. So we had these sort of really complicated puzzles in the game that we'll probably still have a couple of, but this was one thing that really failed in almost every regard. I think also due to the fact that we don't have any color, because like there's barely any. Again, it's like the language thing, right? We need to, with using the same visuals and the same style, make people understand what to do in the game, and it's so difficult. So So yeah, that's a thing we're continuously working on.
Because it's touch first, you can't really have like hover states in the cursor or anything like that.
Yeah.
You basically just have the failure feedback when you do the content.
Yeah. The idea is, yeah, every time you tap or interact with the game, something should happen. Whether it's like an animation or a wiggle or a little poof, the poof. So yeah, I think. Is there any more questions? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So if you want to like play the game, there's an arcade here. Did you know that? It's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool video games, but you can actually play Hidden Folks or the demo that I showed you earlier. The touchscreen also works there. Totally recommend playing it with the touchscreen.